keeping you informed of the latest financial news and trends in investing, trading, real estate, and business. This is Wealth and Wisdom with the Market Guys. Here are your hosts, Rick Swope and A.J. Monte.
Hello and welcome to Wealth and Wisdom with the Market Guys. I'm A.J. Monte. On the second half of our show, we're going to have our popular guest, Stephen Goldstein, to talk about the 10 biggest mistakes in fundraising. But before we get to that, Rick, we have a really interesting guest to talk about some of the technology changes in the travel industry.
We're going to be talking about the travel industry. You know, AJ, there are a couple of industries that have been profoundly changed by the wave of technology over the last decade or so. One of them, of course, is the financial industry, trading particularly. We've talked in the past how we used to trade on a trading floor, and to get that kind of quality execution at home was completely unheard of. Now you can sit in your office at home and have the type of
computer.
Oh my goodness, have your hands on all of the information that we had as professionals. Another industry that has seen profound changes has been the travel industry. And we want to talk about that today. We're going to talk about smart money and travel. Our guest today is Scott Grody. Scott is the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Fugazi International Travel right here in Boca Raton. Fugazi, by the way, has been around since 1897. They're affiliated with American Express, which is the world's largest travel organization, with over $26 billion in sales last year. Scott is, we'll just sum it up by saying he's a world traveler and travel expert, and we're going to put his knowledge to the test today to help you become a better spender of your travel dollars. He resides in South Florida, has 2 children and 2 grandchildren. Scott joins us today. Scott, thank you for being on the show. We led off by talking about the technology shifts, and I'll I guess in the interest of full disclosure, I'll mention that at one time, I owned a travel agent. This was actually my first entrepreneurial venture back in the early to mid-'90s. And the changes that I saw were monumental. Can you talk a little bit about how technology has shifted the power and the capabilities, almost, as we talked about, almost full circle from the agent to the consumer? Now it's kind of coming back to the agents. Talk about that a little bit.
You're absolutely right, Rick, when you say full circle. You know, back in the 90s, the Internet was just embryonic and it was dawning.
Right.
And it became a great novelty for the consumer to say, whoa, I could be a travel agent. I can go online, I can make my reservations, I can do my research, and that trend took hold. As a result, during the next 5 or 6 or 7 years, there was a big shift in travel away from the travel agency and directly to the end supplier of service, where the consumer was now a travel agent. But as time evolves, and so does everything evolve, the consumer woke up one day and said, wait a minute.
This is pretty hard.
I just spent 3 years of my life trying to find a hotel in Maui, and I'm not sure I found the right one.
Exactly.
And the fact of the matter is that is actually what has happened. The consumer has now discovered that the Internet and technology associated with the Internet is a great tool to do your own research. And that's what's happening. But at the end of the day, when they want to make their reservations, they're going to a travel professional, someone who they can trust, who's been to these places, has a lot more input than just what you get on a screen.
Well, AJ, it's funny. This almost sounds like when we talk about reading technical charts.
Right.
It's how do you decide? There's so much information out there. How do you decide what's important and what isn't? And it sounds like what you're talking about. You get yourself buried in information.
It's absolutely comparable. I mean, you can do all the research you want on a company you might want to buy securities in.
Right.
And then there's stuff you don't know because you're not a professional in that field. You go to a counselor, a registered broker.
Yeah, this obviously isn't a travel channel, so I want to tie this in to the Wealth and Wisdom theme. This is about the smart money and how to use the channels correctly to save a lot of money. Because if you look, just to book a regular flight to Europe, you can go into Internet through one of the channels there, and you could see the wide range of prices just on the same flight. And it could be thousands of dollars for the same destination.
There's a reason for that, AJ. It's a very simple reason. Airlines today have revenue management controls over every flight to every city in their system 365 days a year. It's a sophisticated system that does real-time pricing, both online and offline for their reservation agents and for consumers. What it does in essence, it measures the revenue yield per flight based upon tickets sold. compares it historically to maybe the last 3 years. And therefore, it reduces inventory in the lower classes of service, the cheaper seats, as it needs to, or increases inventory for lower price seats as it needs to make sure the aircraft at the end of the day will yield a certain amount of dollars.
Now with that, just if you could, in a nutshell, give us some of the tips that you can give to the business traveler who might be watching the show. It's going to save them some money. Just simple tips and what you've seen over the years.
Okay. Well, the first thing is people want to use their mileage, either their reward points from American Express or their frequent flyer miles from an airline, and the business traveler oftentimes doesn't have the opportunity to use it for business travel because in most cases business travel is last-minute decisions.
Right.
The way to save money for those who are fortunate enough to have the ability to plan ahead is to do just that, plan ahead.
How far ahead?
As far as possible. There's no time frame here, simply because there is a limited amount of seats that are available for the purchase using not dollars but points. There are a limited amount of seats in the lower cost fares of service. And the earlier one books, the greater the inventory. The greater the inventory, the more access it is to purchase that inventory. As you get closer, the low fares sell out and you're stuck with the high fares. And the airlines know that. And I won't say they do it on purpose, but they're trying to get the maximum yield per seat.
Of course, yeah.
It's got a question when somebody's using those miles, and I can see how we're going to have probably a lot more information than time for our show today.
Agreed.
But when somebody's using those miles, I'm thinking about what just happened up in New York and some of these places where weather comes in, things turn into chaos. Does the person flying on a mile ticket have the same rights and privileges as a person who's paid the $700 for the seat right next to them?
Unfortunately, they do not. In fact, their ability to turn on a dime is almost eliminated because the airline that issued that ticket has gotten for compensation non-currency, if you will, and therefore it's not transferable. So if you're stuck in JetBlue and by chance if another carrier has some seats going to where you're going or close to where you're going, you're not going to be able to use your ticket to transfer the value of the ticket in dollars to purchase the new ticket on the other airline. So it's not really buyer beware because I think consumers today are aware that when you get something for earned credits, not currency, that there are going to be high restrictions. But here's something interesting you consumers might want to know. Europe is more popular than it's been in years. And we're seeing a preponderance of people taking their vacations, extended vacations, 2 and 3 weeks in Europe, and they don't want to fly in the back of the plane.
Right.
On the other hand, they don't want to mortgage the farm to buy a first-class ticket, which business class ticket from here to, let's say, Rome is about $7,000, $8,000. You know, that 2 people is $15,000. It's a big chunk of your dollars.
Right.
It might be your travel budget for the next year and a half or 2 years. So what to do? There are a number of methods that we pursue to save money for people, and I'll give them to you in a nutshell. If you're an American Express card holder and you're fortunate enough to have a Platinum card, for example, they allow, based upon the points you have in your Platinum account, the ability to buy two tickets for the price of one, buy a coach ticket upgraded to business class, or get a free ticket altogether. If you're not an American Express card holder, many of the frequent flyer programs will allow you to use your points to basically do the same thing.
Right.
What we've found is that because the inventory is so small in those classes of service for business class, we're sending our clients to airlines that have consolidated fares. Consolidated fares can save people 70% off of the full business class fare.
It's basically wholesale.
Yeah,
exactly.
Now Scott, as we're winding down this first segment, I want to make sure our viewers know where to go. It's fugazitravel.com. Is that
right?
Correct?
Not the one in Donnie Brasco movie. It's Fugazi, Fugazy travel.com.
Okay, we have a picture of that website right there.
Oh,
Fugazitravel.com.
Correct.
Now, if our viewers have questions about some of the tips for saving money in travel, they can go to that site and get their questions answered.
Absolutely. We're one of the sites that lists our brick and mortar location, which is right here in Boca Raton.
Very good.
Very
So
nice.
our 800 number is on there, and please call. We'll be happy to answer everyone's questions.
15 minutes is not enough time to be talking about this. We're going to have to bring you back and give us some more of those tips on how to save money. Not just for the business traveler, for the cruise person who's going on cruises, extended vacations. That way,
A family with 3 or 4 kids, and they realize how much
Living in
full
Florida,
family
we're
cost.
one of the cruise capitals of the world, if not the
and it's
cruise
not easy to
capital.
make choices as to which cruises to take, so we'll be able to help in that area as well.
Right, and we also understand a lot of people are cruising on some of these business seminars as well. We're seeing a lot of that.
Incentive travel is huge, and cruise ships being used for the incentive is very, very popular because of its all-inclusive nature and captured audience environment.
We want to thank you for joining us.
It was great to be here.
Pleasure.
You're very welcome.